Hello, and welcome to Compass. I'm your host, Petamini, a retired astronaut. Um, Doing this portion of Compass, a four-part series on the four directions. For those of you who don't know me, I've had the great opportunity to pray and work in the Native American community across the U.S. For about 20 years. And the things I'm going to share are based on a lot of the information that I was allowed to interact with. I will not be revealing certain specific traditional cultures, anything like that. I'm more interested actually in the intersection of spirituality and where a lot of the likenesses lie as opposed to the differences. And I think the Lakota framework, there's seven spiritual practices or principles in which they perform a spiritual walk, are a really good framework for that sort of broad undertaking of one's spiritual self, which cannot be so easily defined. So the commonality in a lot of different traditions is you can look at this and see a cross, but we've definitely seen crosses. You can also look at this and see the four directions. And this is my ceremonial drum that gift to me from my grandmother. And I could look at this and also see a medicine wheel. And with the medicine wheel, I would say then west, north, east, and south directions. In a lot of there are colors typically associated with the four directions. I've seen different, pretty much it's always the same four colors: black, red, yellow, and white. Sometimes they're in different places. I always just honor the altar wherever I am, however they display and do their prayer ties in their directions. That's how I was taught. If you're a guest somewhere, but your personal altar is usually taught to you, by your elders in the community, and they help you discover that your own medicine. So the West Gate is what I'm going to be talking about today, and its meaning, both as it was expressed to me within the teachings and lived experiences, as the entrance really for all of life, and it has the color association as black. It has to do with fertility. It has to do with the darkness, but also the beginning. It's in some ways, I might say the alpha and the omega, because it's where you're going to return to. It's sort of, and there's a cosmology association here too. If you think about the center of our universe being a giant black hole, well, that's blackness. From that death, all of us have sprung. Life has sprung forth, and it's the same magnetic pull that's pulling it back to the center. So there's a lot of meditations that can be experienced and enjoyed just by thinking and participating in any type of Westgate meditation. And there are animals within the Lakota tradition and other traditions, animals associated with gates, and since animals then and their spirits are important to people, become akin to people, and people call on these spirits, it's good to know where those energies lie and what are the properties of the West Gate. There's an elemental association as well. As I was taught, it was water. So it's an appropriate time now with the Standing Rock, the announcement at Standing Rock recently, which is cause for celebration, a victory in a long continuing battle for environmental integrity and respect for our native peoples, and restitution for same, and just an embarking on an incredible future for humankind. And I think for me, this series is just really a practice run for a more developed series I'd like to do, to talk about using stories as medicine. So for today, I was like, I'm thinking of a Westgate story. What could I think of? So what came to mind was the fact that so when a community of people, when I was living and praying with a community of people, would often come together and do sweat lodges, and sometimes oftentimes it's in a remote area, usually in a mountain or something where there's it's quiet. I mean, some people have them in other areas where it's just sort of in the backyard. I've seen them all over the place. But in these particular communities, they were kind of placed outside busy zones and more closer to nature. And so, people coming and going, the community members would be driving, and just like anywhere else you're driving, any kind of country roads or back roads or highways or whatever, you see a lot of dead animals. What's commonly called roadkill, different kinds of animals laying on the roadside. And within a short period of time of anyone coming in and like beginning to delve into these teachings of interconnectedness that the Lakota spiritual practice promotes, the understanding that we're all related, that everything's connected. Suddenly the relationship, and this is the Westgate element, of to these dead animals, you'd hear stories, people like, I have my tobacco in my car, so I just pulled over, I pulled the shovel out, I gave him a barrel, I gave him tobacco, or it no longer became, and in some instances, say it was like an owl. Like one time I had a friend, she found an owl just like laid out dead. I mean, that's huge medicine. So she bundled it up and she brought it back to the community. We had to train medicine person, like leader come in, and the elder, and she knew what to do in terms of preparing it. And I think they made fans. I mean, the owl had an afterlife. Within spiritual, prominent places within spiritual ceremonies thereafter. So there is this changing relationship to death, and I think that's what the Westgate has to offer. Not just a new life, but also rebirth. Because in essence, it's all a rebirth, just energy changing into other forms of energy. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Compass as we talked about the Westgate. This is Petimini, retired astronaut, wishing you a blast off kind of a day. Take care.